Homeownership is not just about location, location, location. Today, it's also about security, security, and more security.
Honey, he's coming this way.
That's the guy.
Did this homeowner make the right decision? Apprehending a criminal single-handedly is not only dangerous, but it puts time on the side of the bad guy as you wait for law enforcement to arrive. What would you do? Stop the Threat starts now. Hello and welcome to Stop the Threat. My name is James Towle. On today's episode, we're taking you to San Antonio, Texas. A security-conscious homeowner apprehends a daytime thief. We call this episode Caught in the Act. Let me introduce you to this week's panel. Marc MacYoung, author of Violence for Lawyers. Marc is also a court-recognized expert on cases involving violence. Kathy Jackson, author and one of the most recognized female defensive handguns instructors in the country. Don Clark. Don was with the FBI for 25 years. Don supervised many high-profile cases, including the 1979 Iranian hostage crisis, as well as the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center. Welcome all. I have an email, and this email, I'm going to give you a little background. For those of you who might have missed the episode where a homeowner and his wife hear a noise in a detached garage. This email comes from Dewey, and he asked this question. Really made me think as a concealed carry permit holder with an external garage. His question really surrounds the fact that since he had to leave his home and go to the garage, he ended up in this particular case trying to apprehend and hold that individual. What Dewey is saying was one of the comments we made after that was, what's wrong with just taking his picture and letting him go? They were very uncomfortable, and Dewey is as well, kind of uncomfortable with the fact being in a closed area with someone who was threatening him, and that's what the guy was doing. So, what do you think? I like the picture thing.
I like the idea of surveillance cameras, but I'm not real sure about having something else in your hand if you might be getting into a confrontation.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Don?
I think it's a good idea sometime that we don't always have to take physical force and try to take charge of it, is that maybe we can get as much information as we can that we can visibly see, or maybe the person said, license tag, et cetera, nobody's harmed that we know of at this point, and then pass it to the appropriate authorities that's going to handle it properly.
Right. The apprehension part always kind of creates a problem. I got about 30 seconds. Tell me.
Basically, if you can let the guy go without having to shoot him or engage, just be a very good witness.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's okay to give a description because he can't outrun a Motorola. Those radios are really good.
Right. No, I like the picture thing. And Dewey was pointing out to us that he was in a closed area, and he was really too close and felt really uncomfortable. When we come back, though, I'm going to show you part one. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. We're going to San Antonio, where a homeowner is putting in place a security system, and he ends up apprehending, and I think that's the key word there, a daytime thief. Let's watch part one.
There we go.
Is that really necessary?
Of course it is. 2 other people have been robbed on this block this week alone. I don't want to let this guy get away with it again.
Isn't that what the shotgun's for? Don't you think the camera's a bit overkill?
Well, what if he comes in and we're not home? Or what if he comes in and we can't get to the gun? The camera is completely necessary.
What if he comes in through the window?
I'll buy some bars for the windows tomorrow.
Seriously? You've got to be joking.
Of course I'm joking. I don't want to turn our house into a prison. It was for lunch.
Gruel to go with those bars if you're not careful. going to get the rest of the groceries.
Okay, babe.
Did the Johnsons get a new TV?
The Johnsons are out of town this week. That reminds me, I told them I'd watch their cat.
Then who's in the front yard with their TV?
What?
Honey, he's coming this way.
That's the guy.
Okay, I don't have any problem with people using security systems. I think your level of security has something to do with your budget. You want to go with that, Don?
Well, security systems are great. I think they are good as long as they are active and they go someplace. Sometimes we put them up and they don't do anything. But as long as they're active and they go someplace, I think that's a good idea. And especially if you've got connection to the police and you can go directly there and let them come and respond to some of these circumstances. And I think it's really good if something's going on outside your house and you hear noises and so on and so forth, instead of you getting your gun or going out without it outside, how about calling your system and then calling the police and stay in your house?
Okay. Mark, did he have to go out with a shotgun? Did he have to apprehend this guy?
Going out and engaging is always a problem. Now, going back to the home security, a lot of things that I tell people about home security is it doesn't have to be bars on the window. A rose bush planted on the side of the house is a really good way to keep somebody from coming in through the window. There's passive things that look very pretty that can keep your house safe.
Okay, Kathy?
Motion detector sprinkler. Anybody? I mean, a motion-operated sprinkler does a really awesome job.
It's embarrassing, too.
All right, here's the thing. Guns and cameras do different jobs.
Yes.
The camera helps apprehend the bad guy. The gun protects human life. When we get those two jobs confused, people end up getting into trouble.
Right.
I think, you're hearing the interplay between those two. Well, do we really need this? We have a gun. That's not the same job.
Right.
Okay, I think there's a number of instances, and certainly in Texas there are a number of instances, where a homeowner looking out for his neighbor and been asked to do so. I mean, I think he said he had to feed the pet or something.
Yeah, he'd
That's
been
almost like
authorized.
saying, watch my house. It's the same thing, right? So he's felt compelled then that here he is crossing through his property with what he believes to be stolen property from his neighbor. He turns and he goes directly to the shotgun and goes outside to apprehend them. I think that's human. I think that's what a neighbor would think to do. Is it the right thing to do, Kathy?
Again, if the purpose is to stop crime, then probably you should have a badge. Probably you should be calling the people with badges to stop the crime. The purpose of our firearms is to protect human life. I have no problem with him taking the firearm with him if he's anticipating a situation where his life might be in danger. I do have a problem with him diving into a situation where his life might be in danger when he doesn't have to.
Okay, all right. The apprehension part is always a comment that I'm sent by email. Should I apprehend? And as far as I know, no one outside of law enforcement or the government teaches you how to apprehend someone. Actually, that's not something you find in the civilian area very often. Nobody really wants to touch that subject. So to apprehend them, Don, because that's what he's done.
Well, that's not a good choice. In most cases, it's not a good choice, and it usually causes a worse situation. So in those situations, everybody wants to be, yeah, I'm going to go out and take charge of this. How about getting on the phone and taking charge of that and calling the people that you do? If you are safe in your house and somebody is outside there trying to get in, don't go outside and try to get them away from there. Call the authorities. and tell them what's going on, because you're going to create a
All right, let me ask you
situation.
this. How would you feel about him turning to his wife saying, call 911, I'm going out to stop that guy?
I still don't say do that. I still don't say do that. Call 911, and I'll try to observe him from here so that when they get here, I may be able to tell him some information.
Okay.
Let me
I got about 30 seconds.
change direction slightly. Most of the officers who are killed off duty because they don't have the uniform. They don't have the sign, the obvious
That's
sign
a real good point.
of authority.
Yeah.
That's a real
So,
good point.
you know, as an individual choosing to engage, you have to come in hard, fast as a professional. That is going to set you up for all sorts of legal problems. The idea of taking care of the witnessing is great because it keeps you out of that mess.
Okay. I got to go. We'll be right back. Welcome back, viewers. We have seen part one. A homeowner is going to now put himself in a situation which could be dangerous. And let's find out what happened by watching part two.
That's the guy. Call the police. Hey, stop right there. Set the TV down slowly and lay on the ground. Put your hands behind your head. Don't move. The police are going to be here soon.
Okay, well, we saw exactly what took place, and remember, these are really true reenactments of a crime that did take place. I think the first clue here, at least the one that I picked up, was that he turned to his wife and said, "That's the guy." That told me he's seen this person before. They are aware of him, maybe through Neighborhood Watch, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure how, but he recognized him from something else. And maybe there's been a rash of burglaries going on, right?
You mentioned that.
So let's now, what do you think, Don? Did he do the right thing here? I mean, this is a tough call.
You know, I don't think so. I don't think it's that tough. You know, really, I know he's trying to do the right thing.
Yeah,
I'll give him credit for trying to do the right thing, but he's got another way to go. If the guy had a gun and he was chasing after somebody or something of that nature, maybe you might want to react to that a little bit differently. But he's got the TV in his hand,
Right.
you know. How
So
about
there
just-
is no threat.
There's no threat.
There's no
Get on the
threat.
phone,
Okay.
call the authorities, let them do it, and keep an eye on him so that he doesn't get away or they can find him.
Okay, I like that.
Okay, remember that in most states, 49 states, life is given priority over property. And that's something that if you engage somebody over property crime and they end up dying, that you're the one who's considered the aggressor, and that's a key element. Now, here in Texas, I like the sanity of the laws, but the rest of the country really isn't sane, so you need to really seriously consider about engaging.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what we meant earlier, was there was no threat here. The guy is cutting across my lawn. That's not a threat. He has a TV in his hand. I like both of those approaches to, there he is. Hey, this is a good time to take a picture, by the way. You know?
There we go. I was thinking about this. We have the fixed video camera as their surveillance. He had to run for a tool. Why didn't he run for a video camera that he could track and follow the guy while his wife was on the phone with 911?
Way better than a description.
Well,
And in today's
and-
world, you've got everybody with a phone
right
that
there.
they can take a picture for, and
picture.
you've got the evidence right there.
Right.
Yeah.
This
And-
guy, okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, and once again, we see somebody rushing up close and closing that distance instead of keeping a distance.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if you have a firearm or not. It is not smart to rush into the guy's space.
You're
If
absolutely
The
right.
firearm is a distance weapon. That's its big strength. Why would you take away the main strength of the weapon that you've chosen to use?
All he's got to do is reach up and get it, and then he's now in a
then
terrible
it's ugly.
situation.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I think it's very tempting, and also, again, I'm going to use the word human, very human. I have a shotgun. He has a TV, and I think it's stolen, and I'm going to go out and I am going to try to save my neighbor's TV. I think he feels as though he has the upper hand. And maybe he's had some training with the shotgun. I'll even give him the benefit of the doubt there. But, you know, as Don said earlier, if the guy dropped the TV, the guy with the shotgun, if he's not paying attention, might do that long enough for the bad guy to grab the gun away from him.
Right.
So, I mean, you put yourself, if you're going to insert yourself into a situation, it leads back to what you said, Kathy. Keep some distance.
Right.
Okay? I like taking the picture, maybe even following. I mean, look at the individual we're talking about here. The individual we're talking, the bad guy, was not exactly
Nondescript.
okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So he probably gave him a little confidence to go out there once he saw him, but
Right.
I don't know.
Let me throw something else in there. Guy throws down the TV and he runs. Well, whether
Yeah,
he runs
okay.
towards or he runs away is a big, big issue.
Right.
And going back to the range, where when you screw up your own range by getting too close, you can't tell which way this guy goes. So he throws down the TV and the guy shoots.
Right.
Yeah, there's problems. Because it's like, oh, he threw the TV down, so I shot him. Well, yeah, except for he was turning and running, you shot him in the back.
Right.
That's a problem.
Right. That's a problem, and that is a good point. And I also think that it's very tempting on many people's part even to shoot him running away at that point, because you're feeling, you've got this adrenaline going,
And you're already
and
inside
if you're
that
not a
space.
trained
Yeah.
individual,
Right.
then if you can't control that,
Right.
it's a very dangerous situation.
You're going to be in the worst situation if you shoot him running and you're a citizen. You don't even know who this person is. You're just looking at what you see.
Yeah,
you
right.
get yourself and your whole life
Oh, my God.
in a terrible situation.
Yeah.
Let's
Good.
go back to something you said, James. You talked about, well, maybe he had training with that shotgun. Maybe he did, but training with the gun is not the same thing as training to deal with crime.
Yes.
They are different categories.
Yes.
A lot of people are very well trained with firearms, but have not spent the time or done the work necessary to learn about violent crime.
Right, and nor are they familiar with the nature of violent crime and how people will react.
Right.
And that is, you're walking and you're dealing with an animal you got no clue about.
Yeah, good point. When we come back, viewers, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of give you some information to think about. So don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. We've seen part one. We've seen part two. You, as an individual, may have injected yourself into a situation that's beyond you. And we want to look at this for a second and ask the question, what advice would we give you as a homeowner if this happened to you? Don?
Well, first of all, you're not a police officer. That's number one. Number two, in this particular scenario, we didn't see somebody with bodily harm going on, or some kid being strangled or harmed in some way or another that you were trying to save a life at that point. You were really talking about an object, you know. So do the right thing, look at outside, get as much information as you can, and get immediately on the phone and call somebody. If you observe all the way through, fine. Then you can provide that information to the police and let them get there and do their job.
Yeah, no, I like that 100%. Actually, I refer to this as the hero complex.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
If you get into that hero complex thing, it's going to lead you to trouble.
That's right.
Kathy?
I'm going to say, I absolutely agree with everything that you said. I want to add that if you do find it necessary to go rushing into a situation, don't get too close. Keep your distance. Use the firearm as the distance weapon it was intended to be.
Right.
When people get into those phone booth circumstances
Proximity,
where
yeah.
they don't have enough time to react, time to see what's happening, that's when we see the really bad physical and legal outcomes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to do 2 points with that. Number one, I'm going to springboard off what you just said, which is people over-rely on guns. This is the thing that, I'm going to find a solution with a firearm solution at the range Don and I are at. No, keep the distance. That's number one. Number two is recognize criminals are professionals. This is what they do. They're good. They know stuff about this. And you're going in to a situation thinking you're going to go up against a professional. How would you do if you got onto a football field against an NFL team? That's what we're talking about. It's a level of force that if you get close, things go bad. And you're getting close against somebody that knows the game, that you don't.
Let me just throw this in as part of the follow-up here, because I think it's going to maybe change some of our thinking anyway. The follow-up on this, according to the police report, the thief had been breaking into homes in the neighborhood repeatedly and had broken into the home of the homeowner who apprehended him. So there was a little motivation behind that, which might have been good motivation, bad motivation, whatever, but there it was. The homeowner told officers, "I've been thinking about this moment for a long while."
Oh,
Okay?
Ouch.
So I think that probably says a lot.
That really inflames it,
Yeah.
James. It really does.
Right.
I mean, you know, it really takes everything away from the person that's guilty out there, because people are saying, wait a minute, the homeowner had a vice, had something that he had to prove, and so on and so forth, and that just all goes bad. That's wrong.
Right. Okay, I got about 30 seconds. I need a couple of them.
no superhero capes.
No superhero capes.
My firearm did not come with a superhero cape. All I need to do is protect my life and the lives of people I love. Period, full stop, end of story.
Okay? All right, viewers, we got to go. Again, we could have said much, much more here, but there's two things you can't take back in life. The things that come out of your mouth and the bullet comes out of your gun. Be safe, be trained, be alert. See you next week.